Breathe in me, O Holy Spirit, that my thoughts may all be holy. Act in me, O Holy Spirit, that my work too may be holy. Draw my heart, O Holy Spirit, that I love but what is holy. Strengthen me, O Holy Spirit, to defend all that is holy. Guard me then, O Holy Spirit, that I always may be holy. Breathe in me, O Holy Spirit, that my thoughts may all be holy. Act in me, O Holy Spirit, that my work too may be holy. Draw my heart, O Holy Spirit, that I love but what is holy. Strengthen me, O Holy Spirit, to defend all that is holy. Guide me then, O Holy Spirit, that I always may be holy. Breathe in me, O Holy Spirit, that my thoughts may all be holy. Act in me, O Holy Spirit, that my work too may be holy. Dissolve my heart, O Holy Spirit, that I love but what is holy. Strengthen me, O Holy Spirit, to defend all that is holy. Guard me then, O Holy Spirit, that I always may be holy. Breathe in me, O Holy Spirit, that my thoughts may all be holy. Act in me, O Holy Spirit, that my work too may be holy. Draw my heart, O Holy Spirit, that I love but what is.
Good morning, good morning. Hope everybody's well this morning, and it's always good to start off with a little bit of worship music. I'm gonna read from a psalm here because I think this is really relevant. I mean, if anybody's been watching what's been going on, let's just say my rest was not much of a rest with the amount of. Luckily, I don't. Do you know what? I actually don't watch people attacking me online because there's no point. Because why would you? Do you know what I mean? Why would you do it? But obviously people tell me and people send me things and people say, oh, have you seen what such and such is saying? And it's incredible the amount of attacks that's been launched on me just because I'm supportive. Think about this, right? I have been attacked, right? Called estate agent, divisive, a traitor, a lefty, all sorts of slanders from people supporting the new great hope for the country, right? So I've been attacked by all these minions and all these bots and all these little boys who've never done anything, and for doing what? For actually supporting the political party that I joined, that I have supported. I don't know however long. When was it? It seems like about 10 years. I think it's only about 6 months or something. But supporting Advance UK, supporting the mission because it's pretty much seeded out of the pledge, and you all know what I think about the pledge. And people expect me to go, okay, shut up, sit down in the corner, Richard, and keep your gob shut, behave yourself, don't tell people what you really think. Well, if anyone knows me, that ain't me, okay? Now, I'm not going to attack the other party that's involved in all this craziness that's been going on. But I will say this, if people want to talk about division, Ben Habib offered Rupert Lowe the leadership of Advance UK on a number of occasions. Now, the reason I'm saying this because Ben's getting a whole lot of flack for a video he did yesterday, and I'm going to stand up for Ben and I'm going to stick up for Ben. Okay, Ben Habib offered Rupert Lowe the leadership of Advance UK. Then, when out of the blue, and it was out of the blue, we didn't see it coming when it happened. We knew there was something going on, and we didn't know exactly when it was going to happen. Out of the blue, the Restore Party was launched last Friday, whenever it was. Ben then offers a merger. Right now, there's loads of other stuff I know that's been going on in the background. Now, there haven't been, as far as I know, there hasn't been any direct talks between Ben and Rupert at all. Since Ben offered the leadership to him. As far as I know, that was over a dinner, and Rupert said he'd go away and think about it. And if everybody can cast their minds back, that was only less than a month ago, and it was done very publicly. It wasn't hidden away. There was nobody saying, "Oh, this isn't going to happen." So the question's got to be asked. And I'm just going to leave this. I'm not going to go any more into it. I'm just going to ask a question. I'm not going to start attacking anybody because that's not profitable. And I've done that before when I've been angry. I'm not angry now. I'm not going to attack anybody. To me, the best solution is that there is, at some point, there's some sort of form of a pact between all the parties on the right, sadly including the right wing of the Conservative Party, right the way through to Reform, Advance, Restore, that there is some sort of a pact to get the lefties out. But I think it's completely unfair to expect Ben just to put his feet in the air and say, well, because Rupert's getting massively boosted on Twitter, and he's got some great guys doing social media, that's the team to save the country. There's a long way out between now and the next election. There does need to be unity, without a shadow of doubt. There's got to be some coming together, but that unity has got to be reciprocated. And as far as I can see, from what I've seen of Ben's actions and his words since he started Advance UK, he's always been saying, Rupert, come and join us. And the question has got to be asked, why has that not happened? Because surely that would have been an ideal solution, that Rupert and Ben work together, and it's Ben that's always been having the right hand of fellowship out. So I don't know, Ben put his video out last night, I didn't know it was going out. I think Ben covered everything in that video that's happened, and I think he was very truthful about it. And people are saying all sorts of things about Ben. He's getting all sorts of attacks, all sorts of slanders. And look, at the minute, obviously when you've got the richest man in the world amplifying your content, it makes things difficult for Advance UK. But the truth is, I'm going to stand with Advance UK until the death, because I believe Advance UK are the answer. And everybody knows I've been open. I've been very straight about what I believe. I've seen. I'll tell you what. I've been in this movement since 2018, and since the launch of Restore, I'm not going to blame Restore for this. I'm not blaming them, but I'm just going to state a fact. I have never seen such vile racist abuse thrown at my friends, and I mean my good friends that I've walked in this movement with for a long time. I've never seen such vile racist abuse since the launch of Restore 10 days ago, whenever it was. I'm not saying there's a connection. I don't know what the connection is. But when you are talking about nativism, when you're talking language that is exalting ethnicity above ideology, in other words, skin color above contents of the character, which is what people are doing, people that are intimately involved in Restore, people are doing that, okay? I'm not going to name them. I've already nailed my colours to the mast on this one. But when that's happening, that is the byproduct of that is that the racist, the real far right, the real nasty people will basically take that as a green light to be racist and to be evil and to attack people who, many of whom are Christians, many of whom are patriots who love this country. And I personally, I have massive problems with that, okay? And I think it's fair to say that as a Christian, if I wasn't standing against that, I wouldn't be being honest and genuine. And, you know, there are people involved in Restore that are Christians. I would like to hear them openly condemning the ethnonats, the far right, and the racists who are using the Restore badge, whether it's signed off by Restore or not, using the Restore badge to post vile racism against people, telling people that they're going home and Restore are going to do it, that sort of thing, you know. And I would like to see everybody in Restore condemn that wholeheartedly, because that is a way that you could come towards unity. How could Ben Habib join with a party that is not condemning what these people are saying? Now, what they're saying is they're saying these people are nothing to do with us, but they're not condemning it outright and actually finding any of these people who are doing this and throwing them out of the party. And I'm saying this for a very specific reason. It's not to attack Restore. I'm saying this for a very specific reason. Myself, Tommy, loads of other people that have been involved, friends of mine that you wouldn't know their names, but they've been involved in the background for years, have always stood against racism and against the ethnonats, okay? And I think that's where we could actually have common ground. We say, okay, none of us on the right are that, and then we could certainly try and build unity around that. But there needs to be a talk of nativism, talk of ethnicity ad infinitum is certainly not what I'm about. Now, if that's what people are into, then there's no chance that you could merge with that anyway. I couldn't merge with people who were genuine ethnonats or nativists. You know, they change the terminology because it means that they can dodge the fire that's going to come at them. But when people are talking about nativism, that's what they're talking about. They're talking about ethnicity, and that is their main driver. Okay, so I've got to say that. I've got to get all that off my chest because Ben's been getting a lot of stick. You know, I know what it's like when you get a lot of stick publicly and nobody rallies to your side and say, do you know what, we're standing with you. Well, I'm nailing my colours to the mast. Everybody knows me, and everybody knows exactly where I'm coming from. Now, obviously, what will happen is, as always happens, I mean, there's some guy called Dino No Brain or something, I don't know, Dino Rod or something, I don't know who he is. But anyway, he's been having a good old attack because I had the temerity to say I actually support Israel. Well, I want to address that now, and I'm going to do it as politely as possible because there's people, do you know what, there's people actually lying about me as well. There's people saying things that are just ridiculously off the chart, crazy. I'm not going to go into that. There's some crazy people out there. I've been doing this for a long time. I've put my life on the line doing this. I've lost business, jobs, you know. I'll pull out the violin, but I'm not here to do that. I don't, you know, I can take all the hits. So some trolls who don't even live in the country attacking me, not interested. Or some, you know, bitter and twisted old men, you know, well, I'm not even going to go there. There's just a lot of bad people out there, right? And I'm not going to name them, I'm not going to amplify them. But I know that the people that come on my channel that know me, and the people that have known me for years, know exactly what drives me and motivates me. And I'll tell you what it is. Let me explain what it is, right? Our country is on the verge of going beyond the point of no return. I think everybody's agreed on that. Okay, everybody's agreed on that. The solution is not to pander to the people that we fought against, in Tommy's case for the past 15 years, in my case for the past 10 years. We're talking about proper ethno-Nazi goose-stepping nutcases. You don't pander to them. You don't say you can come into the tent. Okay, you slam the door firmly in their faces. And that's what Advance UK, by its makeup and by its ideology, because it's very much based on the principles of the pledge, and there is a very good reason for that. It's because the people that are actually, some of the people who are actually formulating policy were involved in the writing of the pledge and the planning of the pledge. So it's very closely aligned to the ideology of the pledge, and the ideology of the pledge is an ideology for our movement. If you don't know what the pledge is, again, if there's people coming on this that don't know me, all you guys know me, but if people don't know me, go to thepledge.org.uk. It's a project I've been intimately involved in. My friend David Rhodes is intimately involved in. Paul Thorpe, Jeff Taylor, other people, Tommy, that came out of a meeting that we had years ago in London, where all the major social media people turned up. Incidentally, one of the people that didn't turn up that was invited is one of the people who's causing a lot of problems at the minute. That's another story. But anyway, I'm not going to name people. I'm not going to go down that road. I'm not going to start slagging people off because it's not profitable. But what I'm saying is there's a lot invested in advance in terms of intellectual capital, the structure of the party, the way it's been set up. I'll be honest with you, where we're weak, and I'll say this for Restore is smashing it on social media. And fair play to them. They're doing it. That's where Advance need to up our game. We need to have, better social media presence for sure. And I think what we've got to do is we've got to calm everything down. We've got to, I'm going to critique. I'll critique Advance. If I think Advance are going wrong, I'll critique it privately, obviously, because I've got the ear of some people in Advance in the leadership, which is good. So if I've got a critique, I'll go to them and I'll speak to them and say, listen, guys, this is a problem. On the situation with Rupert Lowe, let's give credit where credit's due. I'm not coming on here to try and be divisive. The grooming gang inquiry, brilliant. And from what I can tell, from people that were involved in that were there, that were there supporting the effort, that it was extremely well run. The survivors were treated extremely respectfully, and they actually felt really they got a lot out of it in terms of their story being told, and also that was obviously relayed to Rupert, and I think Rupert was moved by what he heard from the inquiry. So that is a massive tick in the box for Rupert Lowe. So you've got to give credit where credit's due. He has been very bold in committees and in the way he's spoken in Parliament. So I'm not going to come here and be more divisive and call that's it. No, he hasn't. No, Tommy hasn't left at Advance UK. And well, I've been speaking to Tommy about these issues, and I'm not going to go into, again, private discussions that I have with Tommy, but Tommy hasn't left Advance UK, and I think Tommy's a very smart guy, and he always thinks three steps ahead. So Tommy's, I'm not going to speak for Tommy or discuss what discussions I've had with Tommy, but Tommy's very intelligent, and I think Tommy, believe it or not, I'm going to say something. Tommy doesn't like confrontation, and he hates infighting. So Tommy doesn't like anything that's comes across as divisive and so on and so forth. So look, what we need is a genuine. We need to get rid of all the people who are pushing a nativist ethno agenda. We need to get rid of them out of the movement. Okay, and I'm talking about the ones that are wanting to deport people because of the skin color, which is there are a large number of those people hiding in the background. Okay, they need to go. They need to be gone. All right. There will be a coming together. There has to be, in some way, shape, or form. Not a merger. I don't think any of these parties will be able to merge together, right? The Conservatives and Reform are not going to merge. Advance and Reform aren't going to merge. Reform and Restore aren't going to merge, and Advance and Restore aren't going to merge. But what will need to happen before the next election, and this is what I want to explain, okay, clearly. What will need to happen is all these parties that have grown up. It's like, it's kind of like kids in a schoolyard. You're all growing up together, and you're all finding out that you're good at this, you're good at that, and the other. And again, I suppose if we have a bit of a football analogy, all these parties are like kids in the school, right? And they all want to play on the team. So, some of them are great defenders, some of them are great goalkeepers, some of them are great attacking players. Well, what will have to happen is that all these kids are going to have to come together and form a team if we want to get rid of the left. Unless there's a massive implosion of Reform or a massive implosion of Restore, a massive implosion of Advance, all these parties are going to be there at the next election. And that's when the rubber really hits the road. That's when there needs to be some very, very deep thinking between all these parties. So at the minute, the momentum is with Restore for sure in terms of their numbers. But to me, I know what Advance is, and I know how well they are put together. So they're all going to still be there. All these parties are going to still be there come the next election. And it's a question of what happens then. Or maybe it won't be. Maybe Restore will implode, maybe Advance will implode, maybe Reform will implode. Maybe they'll all implode and we'll just be left with Tory and Labour. We haven't got a crystal ball. We don't... Yeah, that's a good point, Julie. That's a very good point. That's a very good point. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so hopefully that kind of tells you where I'm at. I'm still committed to completely to Advance. I'm not gonna, spend all my days looking at Restore and critiquing them and analysing them. I could do that. I spent some time doing it, and I could have done that no problem. Um, Well, Richard, Steve. I haven't heard that. I'll check with the team, but I haven't heard that. Again, I can't be across everything all the time. Yeah, I agree with that, Sally. Kids and animals are easy to handle. It's a shame. It's a real tragedy. It's a real tragedy that Rupert didn't take the leadership of Advance. That's going to be my final word on this. It is, and I mean a tragedy. I absolutely mean it's a tragedy that Rupert didn't go, do you know what? Yeah, I'll basically join Advance UK. That's all Rupert had to do. And I have massive misgivings about the direction of travel of Restore and the people that are around Rupert. And everybody knows that. I know where I believe the blame is. And there's my old mate, Paul. Paul, I mean, well, don't let it kill you, mate, because you know what? Anybody that's attacking you, mate, and I want to say something about Paul Thorpe, right? Paul Thorpe is always looking for unity. So the attacks that Paul has had for standing up for me, I went off on a rant on Paul's channel, week and a half ago on a Friday. I just got off a plane. The Restore thing dropped into my phone, and I did I did a video, saying what I thought, and then I went on Paul's channel and said what I thought, and I could have said it better for sure. I could have said it better, and Paul has took a lot of flack for me, right? So Paul's had my back. So Paul's a loyal guy, right? And I just want to say, when the rubber hits the road, Paul could have thrown me under the bus and said, Richard, you've gone too far, you've said too much, I don't want anything to do with you. And he had my back, right? So I've got his back as well. And that's the way it is. If anybody can make mistakes, and the way I conducted myself and spoke was not good. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna address this one. Look, okay, you're 100% behind Restore. Fine, that's okay. That's great. That's really good. That's fine for you, but you know, I am gonna highlight problems where there are problems, Louise. That's what's called free speech, and part of I don't want to restore position on free speech, but certainly Advance's position and the pledge's position on free speech is that people have got to be allowed to speak freely. But again, yeah. So Rupert's a bad boy now, but you were happy to have him in Advance in the beginning. I didn't. You're obviously not listening to what I've said. I'm not saying Rupert's a bad boy. I'm saying he's got some bad people around him. 100% he's got some bad people around him. I genuinely believe that. Some really, really bad people. But that doesn't make him bad. Okay, right. Well, I mean, honestly, the attacks Paul's had, and the attacks some of our, black and Asian friends have been absolutely monstrous. And not one word of condemnation from anybody in Restore. And I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to draw a line under it. I'm not going to talk about this. I'm not attacking Restore. I'm deliberately not attacking Restore. What I'm doing is putting out facts about what's happened. Okay? If people don't like those facts, that's up to them. And it's very easy to jump on the latest shiny thing, And if anyone, that guy that said I'm attacking, I'm attacking Rupert. I haven't attacked Rupert. Spoke very highly of Rupert and what he's done. But it has been absolutely disgusting. And you find out who your friends are as well. And if 5,000 people had left Advance UK and gone to Restore, that's completely their prerogative. That's what's called democracy. All I'm saying is, to me, the best chance of saving the country would have been if Rupert had joined Advance as leader and brought all that energy and all his team. If they had these great guys. But again, that's the problem. That is the problem. It's the people around him. Okay. Oh, listen. I mean, I want to say something, right? I've seen the movement destabilized. I want people to just take a step back and look at this and think about this. Okay. I want people to take a step back and think about this and understand that what's happened in the last 3 weeks. Let's say the last 2 months. Just let me go through it again. Ben offered Rupert the leadership of Advance UK. Rupert didn't respond. Ben had that amazing conference in the Emmanuel Centre. Amazing buzz about it. Absolutely fantastic energy in the room. A week later, Rupert launches Restore Britain. Ben offers a merger. Rupert says you can join the party. That's not a merger. That's get in line, son, do as you're told. Okay? That's the reality of what's happened here. And yet, we're the ones that are taking all the friendly fire on this. And that's what I want people to understand. They've got to see what really, really happened here. Okay? Glyn Morgan, in the interim, it's up to each party to try and break. This is the whole thing. And the thing is, here's the thing, right? I'm actually looking at this now. I'm saying, do you know what? I'm actually glad that Advance and Restore are doing their own thing, because it is going to be let the best man win. Now, obviously, it's going to be hard, but I'm sticking with what I believe is right, and that's what I've done. Even though I said it very cack-handedly, a week and a half ago, I believe we've got to do what's right. Okay, and so let's park that, because I want to look at what the real problem is. Okay, I want to look at what the real problem is, and the real problem that we're facing in this country is communism, radical Islam, and the rise of the genuine far right. Okay, so it's the Labour Party and the internationalist globalists as well. So there's basically 4 threats. There's the communists, there's the Islamists, there's the globalists, and there's the fascists. Now, I've been fighting on all those fronts, and anybody who knows me knows this is true. I've been fighting on all those fronts for the past 10 years. Okay, very publicly since 2017, but quietly in the background for the last 10 years. In fact, actually a lot longer than that, because my battle started with Islamists in 1984, and I've been speaking about Islam since the mid 90s. But the larger political thing, I never really got the communism thing. I didn't realize how much of a threat the left were until probably about 10 years ago. So we need to focus on what the real threat is. The real threat is not coming from people like me doing videos saying what I believe about different political parties. The real threat to our country right now is from the fact that we have been invaded by millions and millions of people, many of whom are Islamists, who want to change our way of life, who want to take over our country and turn our country into a Sharia hellhole. That's what we've got. And that's not, we can prove that. We can prove that by the stats. If we go back to the Henry Jackson Society poll, and this is the frightening thing. The polling asked I'm doing this from memory, so if I get this slightly wrong, I'll apologise. But as my memory serves me, right, there was very specific questions asked. And one of the questions was about Sharia law. And it was if you believe that Sharia law is the best governance for the country or something like that. And I think that it was like strongly agree, don't really know, no opinion or whatever, or strongly disagree, right? So and this was poll of Muslims, when the polling happened, 32% of people strongly agreed that Sharia law would be good for the UK. Again, I might be getting the wording wrong, but it's pretty much what happened, yeah? So I'm paraphrasing, right? So 32% of Muslims strongly agreed that Sharia law was the best governance for the UK. I wanted Sharia law for the UK. And then it goes down the scale, and it's how many people strongly disagreed that Sharia law was perfect for the UK. 25% strongly disagreed. So between that 32% and that 25%, there's up to 75% that are kind of, well, I'm a Muslim, I'm okay with Sharia law. Now, it only takes 10% of a population to change everything, as the Nazis found in Germany in the 1930s, or as the Germans found with the Nazis in the 1930s. It only takes 10% of the population. I think it was only ever 10% of the population were active members of the Nazi Party in Germany. And they took power and destroyed the world, literally destroyed the world. Now, when you've got 32% of Muslims in the UK are Islamists, according to that polling, if people don't see that as a problem, they should. And I want to say something about the Islamists. Toby Young, I'm going to try and find it actually. Let me see if I can find the Free Speech Union. Toby Young, and again, I like Toby Young. I mean, he's a bit snobby when it comes to us lot, but I like the guy. And I'm going to put this on the screen, because Toby Young is extremely vexed about the imposition of Islamic blasphemy law in the UK. Now, this is what we should be talking about. Okay, we should be talking about, not about who's the best party, not about this. I'm not going to use the terminology, but I'm talking this. Yeah, who's got the biggest party? Let's just put it that way, right? A party swinging. It's not a party swinging competition, is it? So we should be looking at what's happening with radical Islam in the UK. That is the biggest threat, the biggest long-term threat. The communists and the radical Islamists are the biggest long-term threat. And sadly, there's now a growing, ethnonat thing on the far right. And I will keep talking about that, because when I see my friends getting racially abused, I'm not just going to sit there and go, that's all right. I'm going to stand up against that. And I'll be on Baraka's show tonight. I can't remember what time. I think it's 8:00. So we've got to realise the Islamization of the UK, and this is why I have a problem with Reform and Nigel Farage. Nigel Farage says it's inevitable that the UK becomes what do you say? We can't beat them. We can't beat them. Well, we can. Can you imagine if in the Second World War, Winston Churchill, this is a man that wants to be Prime Minister, by the way, Nigel Farage. Can you imagine if during the Second World War, Winston Churchill had said, do you know what? We can't beat the Nazis. We're gonna have to work out a deal with them. You can't fight against them all. That's what Farage is basically saying. And then you have people like Piers Morgan on a show with Gad Saad saying, "There's nothing to see here, Gad. There's nothing wrong with what's happening in the UK." Did he not see what happened in Birmingham when a Jewish football team were basically banned from playing, or an Israeli football team were banned from playing in Birmingham because Islamists hijacked the policing? It cost that chief constable his job, didn't it? Islamists hijacked policing and basically imposed Sharia law on an area of Birmingham. And some very brave Jews went up there on the night of that and protested, and some very brave Christians and some very brave atheists went up and protested against the Islamists. And that's what we're constantly dealing with. So let's get away from the psychodrama, okay? And let's work out how we're going to defeat Islamism in the UK. How we're going to get rid of the Muslim Brotherhood. How we're going to get rid of the extremist Pakistani and Bangladeshi political parties, political activists and agitators that are infiltrating every area of our society. See, it used to be that people thought the biggest threat from Islam was terrorism. I've always said that's not the case. And I always said, who's a bigger threat to the UK, Anjem Choudhury or Maajid Nawaz? Now, if you don't know who Anjem Choudhury is and who Maajid Nawaz is, Anjem Choudhury was the mouthpiece that radicalised a lot of young men, and they went out and did horrendous things, right? I think a lot of people joined ISIS because of Anjem Choudhury, and of course he's rotting in prison at the minute. Sorry, I just want to check the comments here. Well, yeah, I think you're probably right. I think you're probably right. I think you're probably right. But yeah, so and that's the point, isn't it? And that's the point that I've been trying to make, is that we are that lot to a lot of people that want to form a new elite in politics. But getting back to Anjem Choudhury and Maajid Nawaz. Maajid Nawaz was an Islamist. He wasn't a violent Islamist. He did some time in prison in, yeah, I think in Egypt. And he all of a sudden became a moderate Muslim, right? And it was like, oh, we're not into terrorism. We don't want to do this. We don't do that. And he shaved off his beard. You know, had a big quiff of hair. Always dressed immaculately. Shared platforms with Douglas Murray, etc., etc., etc. And I said years ago, I was sharing a platform with Anne-Marie Waters, because I've been doing this a little while. You know, some people that are new to this think that I must have just dropped out of the sky. You know, I've been doing this for a long time. And I was sharing a platform with Anne-Marie Waters, and I asked a question. I said, who's the most dangerous Islamist in the country? Or no, the most dangerous Muslim in the country. Is it Maajid Nawaz or Anjem Choudhury? And I was Anjem Choudhury. And says, you sure about that? You sure? And you see, the wolves in sheep's clothing, which is the Fabian logo, there's a lot of wolves in sheep's clothing who are pretending to be moderate Muslims but aren't. Okay? And the other thing is, if I was an Islamist, I would be saying to my supporters, don't even think about getting involved in violence. Don't even think about getting involved in terrorism. What we need to do is take over the institutions. That's what I would be telling my Islamist colleagues if I was an Islamist. And that's what they're doing. And they'd be doing it by stealth. So while everybody's looking over here, and don't get me wrong, it's like, you know, the way the Islamists work, it's a bit like a mafia thing, you know. They'll come to you and they'll go, well, look, we're the nice Islamists, okay? We're not like these terrorist guys, and we can kind of keep them under control. Just give us what we want. Just pay the jizya. It's like the mafia, isn't it? You know, they're going out to a restaurant in the Bronx, and they say, do you know what? There's been a lot of fires around here, and we're very worried that your restaurant might get burnt down. So we think we can solve the problem. We've got this little insurance thing going, and we can make sure that nothing happens to your restaurant. And the guy in the restaurant, no, I'm not paying any of your protection money. 2 nights later, his restaurant's on fire. And the mafia are going to go back and say, well, we did warn you. Okay, claim off your insurance, give us a cut of your insurance money, give us a piece of the action in the restaurant, and we'll make sure it doesn't get burned again. For a while anyway. And that's exactly what Islam does. You know, pay the jizya or pay the consequences. Pay the jizya or pay with your life. People have no idea what Islam is. And that's why I'm so annoyed about the infighting. That's why I'm so annoyed about the splits and people not getting together and working out. And when I you know who I blame. You know who I'm pointing the finger at. But it's not over till the fat lady sings. And what we need to do, we all need to keep calm. We need to carry on doing what we're doing in our own respective lanes. You know, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm going to keep doing my videos. I'm going to keep helping with the events and so on and so forth. I'm going to keep helping advance in Northern Ireland. I'm going to keep doing that. Yeah, I mean, Shakil Asfar, this is the guy that, you got the lovely curry from us. You got the lovely curry from us. We're not here to take part, we're here to take over. Well, we know what you're here for. At least you're honest about it. But you're not going to take over, mate. You're not going to take over our country. And I believe, and I've said this, I believe, and I didn't believe this. I thought we could get out of this without conflict, but I don't believe we can win this without some form of a conflict. And what do I mean by that? I'm not for 1 minute suggesting anybody gets involved in violence. What I am suggesting is that when we get a government that has the testicular fortitude to take this problem on, to take the bull by the horns, that we will be in a situation where there will be a response from the Islamists, a violent response against the government. So there's no way that if we actually get to grips with this, there's no way we can do it peacefully, because there will be a response from the Islamists. They will attack us. If we start deporting all the jihadis and deporting all the extremists and locking up people who are basically involved in the Pakistani Muslim mafia, involved in voter fraud, if we really start clamping down on the Islamists and on the Muslim mafia, then we're going to face a kickback, and it's going to be a kickback that's going to be difficult. But that kickback is going to be far less bad than if we sit and when I say we, if governments sit and do nothing and ignore the problem and let it grow and grow and fester until there's a massive explosion of resentment and violence from the British population, and let's get it right, the indigenous British population. And by the way, when I talk about, I want to clarify and qualify this as well. I am a proud Englishman. I am proud of my English ancestry. I am proud of what my forefathers did. I'm proud of my Irish, English and Scottish ancestry, right? I'm proud of that. I'm proud of everything I know about my family, okay? My adoptive family and my physical genetic family that can trace their roots back to this country ad infinitum, right? But does that mean I say I'm better than somebody that's come from, I don't know, the West Indies, or come from Nepal as a Gurkha, or as or has served with me in the army because I'm white and because I'm English? No, I'm not going to say I'm better than that person whatsoever, because that's wrong. What I'm going to say is I'm proud of our history, culture and heritage. Very proud of it. And to me, that's the sweet spot. We can be proud to be British, proud to be English, and we should be able to say that without being called racist or xenophobe. But if we then use that to discriminate against people because of the colour of a skin or because of where our ancestors came from, then that's wrong. And that's my line on that. Now, now the problem that we've got in the country, and I'm going off on a bit of a tangent here, the problem we've got in the UK, and this is why there's so much resentment, and this is why, you know, ethno-nativist sentiment is getting petrol poured on the fire, is because you turn on the TV every night, and every single advert is full of people that aren't white English, right? Now, that's just not representative of the British population. The British population, I think, is still about 75% white. So what's happened is the DEI identity politics morons on the left, and they've done it deliberately, have created this divide. And my point is this: if we play into that and play their game and say, well, because they're doing that, because they've got their quotas, we want our quotas, that's a zero-sum game, and that leads to conflict. I literally don't care about people's skin colour. Genuinely don't. Honestly, I don't. As I've said many times, I've got a mixed race grandson, you know, who I've never seen because he's not living in the country. But I'd love my mixed race grandson who wasn't born in the country to come and live in this country, 100%, because he's part of me. Okay, and so I'm not interested in the skin colour thing. But what I am appalled at is what the left have done by weaponising skin colour, weaponising immutable characteristics. And that's wrong. Everybody should be equal before the law. And this is Advance's position. This is Advance UK's position. Everybody should be equal before the law. There should be one law in the country. All Sharia courts, in my opinion, should be closed and banned. I don't believe there should be any more mosques built. I don't believe... I'm actually with Restore and banning halal. I'm not with restoring the kosher thing, and there's a reason for that. Kosher is less than 1% of meat slaughtered. I'm not doing it for an animal rights reason. I'm not that sentimental. I'm doing it because I want the Islamists to leave the country. So if you ban halal, all the extremists, all the Islamist extremists will leave, or they'll get very skinny. It's as simple as that. I'm not going to do that to my Jewish friends. Okay, I'm just going to be honest. And again, that's going to be clipped and I'm going to be called a hypocrite, but I don't care really, to be honest with you. What I tell people, I don't hide things. I tell people exactly what I believe. That's why I was banned from social media for years, because when you were telling people what you believed a few years ago, and this is where we've got to give Elon his credit. Elon Musk has given people a voice back. Okay. Do I wish he was boosting Ben's stuff up Twitter? Yeah, of course I do. Of course I do. I think he's backing the wrong horse. That's my opinion, my humble opinion. But yeah, that's true. That's true. Again, look, I mean, I'm controversial. I don't do it. I'm not deliberately controversial. I've just got to be honest about what I believe. Yeah. Sorry, I just picked my nose on a live stream. That wasn't good. I've got to be honest about what I believe, and what you see is what you get with me. Yeah. And do you know what, Newcomer? I get that, Richard. You're wrong. If we ban halal, kosher should be banned also. I was talking to my Jewish friend actually the other day, and he said he'd be happy enough with that. One of my Jewish mates. So I get that. I do get that, and I suppose yeah, the Muslims will use any loophole that they can get. Look. Definitely ban halal. I'm on for banning halal, but the kosher thing, I just well, again, my Jewish mate says most Jewish people he knows don't even eat kosher. So, but we don't want our Jewish friends leaving the country because they're good for the country, whereas Islamists aren't. That's my point. But again, I'm not good with animal. I'm not a cruel man, but at the end of the day, meat's meat, and I like eating meat. So, but I don't like eating halal meat. And again. Something like 47% of lamb that's slaughtered in the UK is halal. 21% of chickens, halal. I think it's 10% of beef, halal, right? Now I don't want to be eating. Yeah, I mean, that's a possibility. Okay, that's a possibility, right? That's a possibility. Import the kosher meat. I mean, what Restore's policy was, as far as I know, is ban halal and kosher, and don't let them import it, right? And I think Connor Tomlinson said print your meat using 3D using 3D printers. That is that takes a special sort of brain to come up with that one, eh? If you don't ban kosher, you can't ban halal. It's animal cruelty, or it isn't. No cruelty. Yeah, okay. I'm getting where everyone's coming from on that. But I think whoever said import it, I think that probably makes the most sense. Don't ban imports. Let them import the kosher meat because it'll be a lot more difficult for them to import all the halal meat. I just want the Islamists, the people who are extremists in my country. I want them gone. Okay, that's what I want, and I believe the biggest threat is the Islamist extremists and the communists and the internationalists, and I think probably we all agree on that. I think Ben would, I guess, would agree on that. I guess Rupert would agree on that. Nick Tinconi would agree on that. So we're all kind of in that position where we know what the threat is. So we've got to find a way of fighting together. The parties aren't going to come together. I don't think UKIP's going to join with Restore. Advance isn't going to join with Restore. Restore aren't going to join with Advance. That's where we are. We've got to accept that, and we've got to move on, and we've got to work out the best way of moving forward and winning our country back. That's what we've got to do. And we all want, if we agree to these things, we all want to win our country back. We all agree that the Islamisation of the UK is unacceptable and must be put into reverse. Now, here's a problem. Reform don't believe that. Okay? Reform do not believe that. Because Farage has said it, and he's never recanted of what he said. Farage has said that you can't beat Islam in the UK. You can't face Islam down. And it's because I believe he has a fundamental misunderstanding of Islam. And don't get me wrong, again, I'm not going to completely, slander Farage. Farage pushed for that Brexit referendum and got it. So, massively, massively important political figure. Let's try and actually be generous to people, okay? So Farage did a massive amount to bring about Brexit without a shadow of a doubt, okay? But on Islam, he's completely wrong. And I'm very worried the fact that he's got, I think, I'm pretty sure Nadeem Zahawi is a Muslim. Fact check me on that. Layla Cunningham's a Muslim. And Mohammed Zia Yusuf's a Muslim. Now, we don't know where they stand fully. We don't know where they stand fully. We know what to say, but where do they really stand? And that's always the issue that we're going to have. And I think we will beat Islam in the UK. Please keep us as a Christian. Now, there's Shohab, right? And I'm going to tell you something about Shohab, right? When my mother passed away last year, out of all the people in the movement that I've known for years, Shohab was the one that checked in on me more than anyone. That's true. Shohab showed me more compassion and love than anybody else that I've known in the movement for years. Fact, okay? Absolute fact. And I would love to see Shohab become a Christian. You need to become a Christian, Shohab. Just, it's true. It's true. But he's a good lad, right? So that's where we've got to treat every individual as an individual. And we've got to try and do this. One of the things I like about Advance as well is the Christian ethos. One of the things I like about what's happening in our movement is the Christian ethos. In the street movement and in the... let's look at this. Layla is a cultural Muslim, like cultural Christians. They observe, by the way, best bits like holidays, but that's the furthest they go. I get that, but the problem is... yeah, I mean, you know what? A lot of what Layla Cunningham said, has been okay. But I mean, listen, look at the way she behaved. I can't remember. She did something a few weeks ago. But I think she attacked. I can't remember who she attacked. She was attacking people on our side, right? And I think it was over the appointment of when she became the mayoral candidate. She was attacking people, calling them, Islamophobes and stuff. I mean, that just shows that is still ingrained there. That is still ingrained. Yeah. Do you know what? I'm trying to get away from personal insults to people at the minute, guys. Do you know what I mean? I'm trying to do this the right way so that we can build so that we can build unity. You know, you don't have to be in unity. You don't have to give up all your principles. You don't have to give up your party. We can find a way of having unity, right? Um, Rosalind, yes, I like the Christian. There's a massive Christian ethos in Advance, and that's because the chief policy guy is a Christian. You know, David Rhodes is a Christian. Um, yeah, Shaub's a good lad. Shaub's a good lad. Well, cultural Muslims must realize that the culture. This is I agree with that. I absolutely agree with that, Julie. That's the problem. You see, what people fail to understand, and this is what I think Nigel Farage fails to understand. Nigel doesn't realize that at its core, Islam is wrong. At its core, at Christianity's core, it is beautiful. It is filled with the love of God. It's filled with the Holy Spirit. You know, it's based on, you know, the most amazing book. You know, look at that. You'll see it back to front because it's you know, because it's a live stream. But you know, the Bible is an amazing book. Whereas the Quran is a blasphemous fable, and this is the thing that we've got to be very, very wary of. I'm gonna pull up this Free Speech Union tweet, guys. Okay. Um, well, here's the thing. I did a live stream with Ben the other day, and I said, look, here's the difference between Christianity and Islam. In Christianity, God died for his people. It's pretty much what happened. God the Son, second person of the Trinity, God the Son, Jesus Christ, died for our sins. That's an amazing thing in any religion, right? That is the foundation and cornerstone of Christianity in the resurrection, obviously. The resurrection, you know, my goodness, I mean, see when you get a revelation of the truthfulness of the resurrection, going off on a tangent again, but amazing, it'll change your life. But so, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. That's the core of Christianity. Jesus came to die for our sins. Islam is the complete opposite. In Islam, Allah wants you to die for him. In Christianity, God died for us. In Islam, you die for Allah. That's the way you get your redemption in Islam. You die doing jihad, you're straight in. Christianity, you put your trust in Christ's shed blood on the cross, you're into heaven. That's the difference. Christianity, God died for his people. Islam, his people die for Allah. That's a massive difference, guys. And that is where the rot is. We can look at all the perversions in the life of Muhammad. We can look at all the disgusting stuff that happened. Everybody knows about that. But at the core of it is one is God and one is Satan. The God of Christianity, the God of the Bible is love. The God of Islam is filled with hatred and war and death. Work out which is a good religion. Okay? Okay. Angelina, thanks so much for doing. I'm so glad you did that. Brilliant. What there needs to be, and this is again, you know, there's some little technical things in Advance that need sorted. That sort of thing, you know, if you got that off the site, that's great. But because I went looking for it, funny enough, to try and find the people. So if that's all there and it's clear, that's great. But there are little technical things that need to be ironed out. Of course, there is. Again, I think the social media stuff needs to be sorted. Okay, right. Let's have a look. Richard Inman, economy. How will Advance fix the UK economy? Drill, baby, drill. There's a big oil well that's filling up with junk from China at the minute. You know, windmills, and no doubt they'll probably try to put wave machines there too. But it's full of oil and gas, and we need to pump that out, and we need to reduce energy costs. That'd be a massive way to kickstart the economy. Let's do it. And again, I'm not speaking on behalf of Advance. the economic policy hasn't come out yet. I mean, they're going to have a very well-rounded economic policy. Thank goodness that Advance and to be fair, Restore as well are run by actually men who have been successful businessmen. I mean, the men that are running Advance UK, very, very successful businessmen or military men. Think about it, guys. You know, David, Ben, successful businessmen in their own right. They don't need to do this. They do not need to do this. They could just go and play golf or tiddlywinks or chess or whatever they want to do and forget about the country and sit somewhere very hot and with a nice beach and a gin and tonic, like Ben always says. Ben doesn't have to do this. David Rhodes doesn't have to do this. But they're doing it because they love their country and they know what's at stake. That's sacrifice, guys. They don't have to do it. It's a lot of hassle. It's a lot of aggravation. It's a lot of poison coming at you. I don't have to do this. You know, this costs. Everybody that does it pays a price that when they're doing it in a committed way. Okay. So yeah, the economic policy. I'm sure there'll be something coming out soon on that. But yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, they've got. I'm convinced that will be part of the, you know, the energy and economic policy is energy security. You know, I think they should. I personally, I think you should have coal plants on you know, clean coal. You should have gas. There's plenty of gas around these islands. You should have nuclear. You need to have energy costs slashed, absolutely slashed. You need to let the internal combustion engine rip again. Get rid of all this nonsense about all going to electric cars. You know, yeah. But again, who knows? Who knows where we're going to end up? Okay, guys. Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think you're probably right. Goodwill. So anyway, I'm not going to get involved anymore in fighting. I've made my case very clear where I stand and why I stand in that position. I'm not going to get into any more of this. Obviously, if people come at me or if there's something, you know, blows up that has to be responded to, I'll respond to it. But for me, I want that to be put to bed. I can take all the knocks. You know, I don't like. You know, one of the things that I find very frustrating is people telling outright lies about me. And I'm not going to name them, but there's some really creepy people, slithering snakes of human beings. Some of them are on the internet. Some of them haven't even got the balls to put their faces out there, right? Cowards, you know, causing problems in the background and attacking me. Well, do you know what? I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to leave. I'm not going to stop doing what I'm doing because I've got a country to save, and we've all got a country to save. That's why we all tune into these things. I think what we were doing for a long time when we were promoting Advance, me and Paul, we were giving people real hope because we thought, yeah, and I, you know, now, do I still share the same hope? Yes, I do. I do because I believe at the end of the day, everything will come right because I think that's what happens. You know, you look at the Second World War. Can you imagine how Churchill must have felt after Dunkirk during the Second World War? Or just before Dunkirk. I mean, Dunkirk was a miracle. The other thing we need to do, guys, is we need to start praying. Like really praying, really seriously praying. You know, I was kind of, and I'm not saying it's because I was, you know, got myself preoccupied and I wasn't been as spiritual as I normally am, and I wasn't reading the Bible as much and praying as much. But all I know is I was kind of a bit, you know, off the wall for a couple of weeks, and everything fell apart. I'm not saying that's because of me, but I'm just saying, you know, we were all praying as a group. This little group here, right? Everybody that comes on my channel, you all know me, right? We were all praying. We were all seeking God. We were all going for it big time, and then I kind of, you know, got really busy with everything that was going on in my life and fell away from that, and everything fell apart. I'm not saying that's because of us, but I'm just saying we need to be praying all the time, okay? Okay, guys, I'm gonna play this song that I know you all love, and and it's as true now as it was when it was written. But here we go. Where are the men of England?
Those heroes brave and bold, where are the men who bled and died in foreign wars untold? The men who conquered all and stood for faith and love, the men who looked to guidance from the Father up above. Where are the men of England, the heroes brave and bold, the men who stood for faith and truth, whose honor wasn't sold? When rape had so depraved, took the daughters of our nation, who forever they enslaved. What of the men of England that looked the other way? They took the country shilling, they never made their play. Where are the men of England, the heroes brave and bold, the men who stood for faith and truth, whose honor wasn't sold? And vice squad, they all seem quite amused, as at the hands of rape gangs our daughters were abused. The politicians blamed the lads who stood up one and all, but most of all blamed Tommy, who always took the fall. Where are the men of England, the heroes brave and bold, the men who stood for faith and truth, whose honor wasn't sold? For now we all must stand. The future of our children is still within your hand. The future not yet written for this green and pleasant land. The future of our children is still within your hand. The future not yet written for this green and pleasant land.
This morning, my friends, I asked a question. This morning. I said, where are the men of England? You're here! You're here! You're here!
Right, folks, so listen, do me a favour. If you're not subscribed to Counter Media, please subscribe to Counter Media. Let's get that channel built up. I have another channel that I'm keeping it separate from the politics, okay? But it's called The Science of Violence. It's just a little bit of a channel about I was going to use a derogatory term for it, but it's about self-defense, basically, a self-defense channel. So if you want to go across to that, just go onto YouTube, look for The Science of Violence. Actually, I'm going to ask a couple of the mods if they can jump on and be mods there, because I've noticed I'm getting a few trolls attacking that as well. I mean, these people are just twisted, you know, just twisted people, you know. Okay, guys, right, I am going to go, and I will see you all soon, and probably do it again tomorrow. Yep, okay, see you soon, guys.